Good morning. I'm Barclay Wheeler. A couple of weeks ago, I recited a poem for you, and I was asked to do a few more. So this morning, I'll offer you some that have been pleasing to me over the years, and better than that, that others have commented on very favorably. I'll offer first a very short poem by A.E. Housman. Its speaker could be me, for his situation is the same as mine. It says, with rue my heart is laden, for golden friends I had, for many a rose-lipped maiden, and many a light-foot lad. By brooks too broad for leaping, the light-foot lads are laid. The rose-lipped girls are sleeping in fields where roses fade. That's kind of my situation. My grandparents had 23 grandchildren. I'm the only one still living. And I'm the only one still living in my high school graduating class. So my heart is indeed laden. The girls had rosy lips, we're told, and roses have always been popular with poets and with songwriters. So I'm going to offer you a couple from the 17th century. The first one is simply called Go Lovely Rose. It said, Go Lovely Rose, tell her that wastes her time and me, that now she knows when I resemble her to thee, how sweet and fair she seems to be. Tell her that's young and shuns to have her graces spied, that hadst thou sprung in deserts where no men abide, thou must have uncommended died. Small is the worth of beauty from the light retired. Bid her come forth, suffer herself to be desired, and not blush so to be admired. Then die, that she the common fate of all things rare may read in thee. How small a part of time they share that are so wondrous sweet and fair. That's a great jump in that poem from just a little rose in stanza one to a universal symbol of all that is passing and short lived in a regular time. Another little poem from that period is called To the Virgins to Make Much of Time. He says, Gather ye rosebuds while you may. Old time is sure a flying, and the same flower that blooms today, tomorrow will be dying. That glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he's a getting, the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he's to setting. That age is best, which is the first, when blood when blood and youth are warmer, but being spent, the worst and worst times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, while you may go marry, for having lost but once your prime, you may forever tarry. I'll move back a little bit in time now to Shakespeare. I'd be kicked out of the Corps of Retired English Teacher if I omitted Shakespeare. So, there's a lot of controversy about him. Biggest one is who wrote Shakespeare? Don't have time for that today. But another one says, is the pronoun I and is the pronoun me, those two in the sonnets, are they Shakespeare? That is, are the poems autobiographical or not? Well, I'll read you some and you can take sides as soon as I get through. The first one, he says, When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing myself like one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art, that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark, at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered, such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. That was sonnet number 29. Now, and that had the I, now we're going to me. That time of year thou mayest in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon those boughs which shake against the wind, bare ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away death's second self, which seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire that on the ashes of his youth dost lie, as on the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed by that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long. I'll offer one more of Shakespeare, a very popular one, number 116. He says, when to the sessions of sweet silent thought, or this one is number 116, I beg your pardon. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within time's bending sickle's compass comes. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears him out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. We'll jump forward a little bit to John Milton. I think most would consider Milton England's second greatest poet, only behind Shakespeare. Unfortunately, he became blind when he was 42 years old. Now, he was a man who knew the Bible well. He was very familiar with the parable about the talents. And the man who had one talent buried it, didn't use it, and when he returned it to his master, he was severely criticized and kicked out for not investing it and using it to earn some interest. Well, in this case, the I is unquestionably Milton. He says, when I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Doth God exact day labor? I fondly ask. But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best serve him, bear his mild yoke. They serve him best. uh, his state is kingly. Thousands o'er his bidding speed, and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. So Milton resolved his issue. It was not the doing, but the being willing to do that really counted. I would like now to read a couple of little poems that uh, draw a great deal of comment. They're kind of attitude poems. And the first one, the attitude is that of the central figure. In the second one, it's the attitude of the onlookers. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. The next one is Richard Cory. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from soul to crown, clean favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed. He was always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. He was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, went without the meat, and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. Those two poems there, the first Ozymandias by Shelley, and the second by Edward Arlington Robinson, as I say, generate a great deal of discussion. Someone said to me about the latter one, he can't kill himself. He has epitomized the American dream. He's wealthy and he's got it all, but he killed himself. In a little different vein, okay. In a little different vein, I will give you another one of those poems about kind of growing old, a little softer. This is by Byron. He says, so we'll go no more a roving so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving and the moon be still as bright. For the sword outwears its sheath, the soul outwears the breast, Life must pause to breathe and love itself have rest. Though the night was made for loving and the day returns too soon, yet we'll go on our roving by the light of the moon. I want to offer one more. This is Thomas Hardy, who began his career as a poet. Then he went for many years writing novels. Then he went back to poetry. He started off as a refurbisher of old churches. And went into one town, he met a woman. They were together, and he fell deeply in love with her, and she with him. They were extremely close. They visited all the popular places in England. But along the way, something changed. Hardy grew cold toward her. He was unkind. Finally, he was cruel. But suddenly she died unexpectedly, and it simply wrecked him, just tore him up. And so he started revisiting all of the places that had meant so much to them. Then in 1912, he published a book of poems about his experiences then. I want to read just one to let you hear how this how much of a loss he felt and how far apart he felt from that early day. Woman much missed, how you call to me, saying that now you are not as you were when you had changed from the one who was all to me, but as at first, when our day was fair. Can it be you that I hear? Let me view you then, standing as when I drew near to the town where you would wait for me. Yes, as I knew you then, even in the original blue gown. Or is it only the breeze in its listlessness, traveling across the wet mead to me here, you being ever dissolved into listlessness, heard no more again, far or near. Thus I, faltering forward, leaves around me falling, winds oozing thin through the thorn from norward, and the woman calling. He was badly, badly hurt. I will throw in another little poem, a little bit lighter for you. This is Robert Burns. He says, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody that's sweetly sung in tune. So fair art thou, my lovely maid, and so in love am I, that I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas run dry. Till all the seas run dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. And I will love you still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. So fare thee well, my only love, fare thee well a while, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 miles. You know, the language of love is hyperbole, and you just got a full dose of hyperbole from him. Unfortunately, he wrote similar poems quite a few times to the only one, but unfortunately, the only one was always someone different. So that was Burns. He had the gift. One more poem on suffering, kind of like the Hardy piece. Tennyson had an extremely close friend named Arthur Hallam. In university, he was well known As a matter of fact, he was known across the country. And the people of England were waiting for the day when he could finish school and begin work in the public sector. They were really depending on his contributions. He died suddenly. And when he died, Tennyson was simply torn up like Hardy. Tennyson wrote a long series of poems, an elegy called In Memoriam. And I will read you one of those, which shows you how much at a loss Tennyson was over the loss of his friends. He says, "Dark house by which once more I stand, here in the long, unlovely street, doors where my heart was used to beat so quickly, waiting for a hand that clasps me no more. Behold me now, I cannot sleep, and like a guilty thing, I creep at earliest morning to the door. He's not here, but far away the noise of life begins again, and ghastly through the drizzling rain on the bald street breaks the blank day." Tennyson faced up to things, and to express how he felt that must go on with life, he wrote Ulysses. Ulysses is an old man going back to sea now, and he calls on his old mariners to be with him. I'll give you just the last part of that poem. He says, "My mariners, souls that are roiled and thought with me, that ever with the frolic thunder took the sunshine and the rain, you and I are old. Old age hath yet its honor and its toil. Death closes all. But something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done by not unbecoming men who strove with gods. The lights begin to twinkle on the rocks. The long day wanes, the slow moon climbs. The deep moans round with many voices. Push off, my friends. 'Tis not too late to seek a newer world. It may be we shall meet the happy isles and see the great Achilles whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides, and though we are not that strength which in early days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. One equal comfort of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield." Tennyson commented on Ulysses. He said, "There is more about myself in Ulysses, which was written under the sense of loss, and that all had gone by, but that life must be fought on to the end." That he used Ulysses to make his case to live on. Got it. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everybody. We really, really appreciate your time today for coming into the room. Thanks for listening to my dad. Thanks for making him an internet sensation. Now go and enjoy the rest of the SRNT conference.
Thank you. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce and Barkley. I don't know if you can hear me. My internet is very sporadic, but that was amazing.